Hello, everyone. I am Chris Parrish, alongside with Mighty Joe and the Canadian Goose in the word dispenser, honk honk. And we are here with another Love Wrestling Reacts featuring WWE Smackdown. We got some people in the chat. We got Wrestling Plug Inc. Have a killer show, guys. We got Spenny and the Jets saying, hey, hey, hey. Ha, ha, ha. Na, 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 na. Goodbye. I don't know.
Even Boss is in the chat.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad, man. It's been a long week. Just outside of doing what we do here with Love Wrestling, and just like the mark job, the day job has got me be like in the middle of like doing like a 6-day stretch of working days. So it's I'm getting a little tired, but thankfully, we have some things to kind of offset that. Talking about some wrestling.
Yeah, Goose, how are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I enjoyed the show tonight, so I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, is there anything that stood out to you guys with tonight's show before we actually get into it? Just want to kind of put out like what stood out for you guys?
For myself, I do like that we had the Roman and Uso thing, that storyline kind of flowing through the entire show. That makes for a good television program, and as opposed to it Raw, where it feels like you're kind of watching Saturday Night Live with just like segments kind of cut up, and there's like no cohesiveness together at all. The show felt like it had a nice kind of flow to it.
Yep,
that's what I noticed right off the hop. I mean, and by the end of the show as well.
Yep. Goose, what about you? What stood out in tonight's show for you?
High and above everything else is just Roman Reigns' fantastic heel work. He strikes me as such a dick, such a dick. And it works so good for him. He's far and away the most entertaining character I've seen on WWE in a very long time.
Little known fact, and an alumni of the new named Edmonton Elks, by the way.
For sure. Yeah.
It's a name. Anyway, no.
Edmonton.
One cool thing that I wanted to make mention of too.
We are alcoholics now, whether you like it or not.
One thing that I do have to point out, like at the beginning of the show, they were kind of setting up this deal with Roman and the Usos and whatnot, but they did cut to some commercials before the actual match started, and they actually announced the date for SummerSlam coming up, actually August 21st, which actually just happens to be my birthday. So SummerSlam is happening on my birthday, so hopefully that's a good thing. And but we don't know where it's going to be yet. The two big rumors, of course, Madison Square Garden or Las Vegas seems like the more likely possibility here for SummerSlam.
I don't know about you, but I would love to see WWE make their debut in the very popular Partsukanon. But Goose, where do you think SummerSlam is going to be?
I mean, I'm always a fan of SummerSlam being in Los Angeles. That seems to be a go-to place for SummerSlam.
Yeah, like the Brooklyn area, yeah.
Like a nice hot weather place where you can sort of have like a beach vibe to it. Like
that's Mystery Alaska, it is. But so yeah, we might as well kick off SmackDown, where we did have. You said it. We had Roman Reigns, we had the Usos, we had Paul Heyman himself. Basically telling the Usos, you got to win. Just like the normal thing, like kind of telling them, oh, you're going to be regulated back to like, the twins.
Question for you guys. Since you guys are both wrestlers in the ring, maybe this is something that I'm kind of missing, being somewhat the outsider. Yeah, I do have a lot of knowledge about wrestling and been doing the podcast and stuff.
Are you going to say you want a match to kick it off?
No, what I want to ask you guys is there's something kind of going on here that I've been kind of picking up on. Maybe you guys can kind of explain it to me. With Paul Heyman, whenever Roman is shooting a promo or anything or doing this kind of stuff, like Paul is he's eyeing him up like he's a piece of meat. Like he's just like constantly like checking him out. Like it just says, can you guys explain that to me? Because I don't quite know. It's like he's just. I know they're trying to portray it as like he's in awe of him, but like it's almost like he's like it's almost like a creepy kind of vibe.
I have a theory, but Goose, I'm going to let you take this, and because I'm curious to see what you think right now.
I just think Paul Heyman is amazing,
Mhm.
and he just is doing that
No doubt there.
intentionally to creep people out. Like,
Could be.
yeah,
You guys know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
100% trying to make
Okay.
you feel uneasy while you watch these segments.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we also go back and we saw when he was in the corner of the Ryback, and he kind of was a little gushy there at
Mhm.
times, which is weird because nobody's gushy about the Ryback ever. But then we also had the relationship with CM Punk. We also had the relationship with Curtis Axel, Cesaro, and there's always different kind of relationships with them.
Yeah.
My theory is that this is just a flat out, as Spenny said in the comments there, I think this is all just a little bit of a, keeping things open for when Brock comes back, because I think Brock is always going to be Paul's number one loyalty base. So when Brock comes back, it's like, okay, I'm keeping tabs on the guy who's going to run WWE when Brock is gone. So when Brock comes back, there's that insider information, and then just makes Paul Heyman just that more astute when it comes to the game and the mind games and things like that, which I personally believe mind games are something that pro wrestling needs more of in terms of better storytelling, and we don't see that enough. And I think Paul Heyman is kind of an example of someone who's doing it right now.
Well, because I think the long-term story to tell here, I mean, is when Brock returns. I mean, he just has him take Roman out, right? And then Roman feels betrayed by Paul, and then that's a setup for a big match between Brock and Roman. Would that not be the setup?
Yeah, and then so like I wouldn't be surprised if they do Lashley and Brock first. But with that being said, I think eventually, if next year they don't have a Mania opponent for Roman, I think the easy one would be Brock and Roman. Goose, you were about to say something. Sorry, I cut you off.
It sounds like you're proposing that they turn Roman back into a babyface, and I don't want to see that right now.
No. Why can't we have a babyface Brock?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I'm proposing. Yeah.
Babyface Brock. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'd rather see that than babyface Roman again. We just got here. Let's enjoy this for a while.
I just rewatched when Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, and right after that, Brock was just the most over babyface on the roster at that point. And it was awesome because you really wanted to see Lesnar just beat the living piss out of Seth Rollins and anybody who stood in his way. And I thought that was a really compelling character because he was believable. And that's what I think you need from a babyface who's an ass kicker, and that's believability. That's why I think a lot of these portrayals have gone to the wasteland. That's why I think Samoa Joe in me was like the most believable guy that could beat up Lesnar, because he again made it believable. Like I didn't believe Strowman, I just didn't. But a guy like Samoa Joe makes it believable, and that's why I think he, of all these releases, was the one that you're going to regret, because he was the one I thought was the biggest star potential out of the whole bunch. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Of course, we did see some not necessarily shenanigans, but some controversy in this match. Mysterio's getting, or Dominic specifically, getting the pinfall on, like Roman. I'm forgetting who's Jay and Jimmy at this point. And they've been kind of playing off of that as well. With the controversial pin, the 3 count, of course, you could very clearly see that the shoulder was up and the referee was totally out of position to not see the correct pinfall. So,
yeah. And then we talked about star potential. Dominic Mysterio. I mean, what can you say about what he has done since he has kind of been on the main roster as a full-time wrestler now? I think I'd like to see more out of the Usos and the Mysterios. When was the last time you actually had a family name tag team, let alone, we got Mysterios, we got Usos. Back in the day, you had the Harts, you had the Steiners, you had, all these, like, you had more family tag teams. The Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart Gun, like, it was kind of like stuff like that. Like, I don't know, it made me care so much more about the tag team thing. Goose, your thoughts on this match, the first one, before we get to this, the second one.
I really liked it. I mean, Rey Mysterio is a fantastic, legendary wrestler. I think Dominic has started to impress me a lot. And the Uso brothers are like one of the best tag teams in WWE at the moment right now. And I think that, like, yeah, I could kind of see that they were going to lose coming, but I didn't see them doing a rematch going into later on in the night. So
Yeah, for sure.
I enjoyed it. The action was hot. So
For sure. Of course, Spencer making reference to the infamous Brock dancing with the Money in the Bank. Of course, the memes.
The Brock party.
Yeah, and of course the memes ensued shortly after. Unfortunately, if we had Spencer on the program here, we could have him demonstrate said dance, but maybe next time.
I really don't think we need that.
I think maybe
I've seen his moves. It's probably best that we keep that a private party.
I think we might have to. I will not be dancing. I will not be dancing. I will call. I'll call all the people out, but I
you got to pay to see such eloquent dancing, Spencer. You just want to get free notes, and you don't want to afford to see the big show. We see it here.
All right, so before I have to eat my words, let's get through some of these other segments here. We had a little Seth Rollins promo, which was a little odd. I thought it was going to kind of go somewhere, but it kind of just like fizzled out. Like there wasn't a whole lot of meat to that segment. Like I could see that I was hoping it was going to go somewhere, but it just didn't. Did you guys get that same kind of feeling?
Yeah, it was just okay. Or Seth Rollins is going to wrestle Cesaro.
Yeah,
at some point.
Yeah,
that's what's going on.
I felt like they could have done a lot more to kind of go with that.
I like the fact that we're keeping Cesaro off TV to sell the attack, but I do believe that this was a missed opportunity in terms of like getting the story told like better. Like it just really was designed of like, Cesaro's coming back, and then Seth gets mad, he walks off, and he's like, it just, what was the point? Like, and why couldn't you have just done a video thing showing this, and then maybe it's a hype video for Cesaro's return, and then that pisses Seth Rollins off instead. Like I don't understand like where they were going. I understand where they're going. I just don't like the execution of how they presented it.
Yeah, it was a little on the weak side. And then we kind of roughly kind of transitioned over to the Street Profits, kind of doing their thing backstage. And then Chad Gable approaches them and essentially kind of asks, requests or tells them that he could be their manager, and they just basically tell him to screw off. And that was that.
Since when is Chad Gable like people's managers? Like last week he was in a match.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know what to tell you.
Like, Homeboy's not a WWE champion. Maybe he should concentrate on either wrestling or being a coach and
Paul Heyman's not a champion, but he is a manager. So I'm gonna find some flaw in that thing.
Yeah. But he's solely a manager. That's what I'm saying. Is if Chad Gable wants to be a manager, I mean,
Raven was the manager of Tag Champs, so
that's true. Okay. That's true.
But no, like what I kind of saw with this and what I kind of took. So I remember Chad Gable being the guy that helped Daniel Bryan in with the Royal Rumble prep, with Otis, and I think maybe that's where it was kind of going. But I don't think people really remembered all this stuff that well to kind of really correlate similarities, the consistency of it. Like I was just, I don't know. But at the same time, like I want to see Montez Ford against Gable. I really do.
For sure. But this whole thing of like asking to be a manager to get turned down, and then kind of Otis then kind of coming later to kind of like slap them in the face for it. It feels kind of like a lame way to set up a tag team match with these guys. Like it's like we're stretching for, like, it doesn't feel organic at all.
You know what would have been actually funny? This would have been really actually ironically funny to me is
I like the matchup, just the setup sucks.
Yeah. I would have loved to see Chad Gable go up to Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins and make fun of them for coming up short.
There you go.
Yeah, and like now the short guy is making short jokes to that, and it's like, haha, and then they get mad and be like, well, these like, and they get in his face, and then Otis comes in, and then maybe it's like a little sneak attack, and then you have like something like a little bit more creativeness out of this. I mean, but I mean, we established last week. I mean, I should book. So I mean,
By the way, WWE, if you happen to be watching this post show, if you're watching the recording on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebooks, if you want to hire us here at Love Wrestling to book your shows, we would be more than glad to accept that position.
I have so many
position. I'll go there and announce, wrestle.
Because Paris is pretty damn good at booking matches.
The music.
Well, I mean, it's funny we talk about booking because, you know, I mean, I wouldn't have this if I didn't predict very well.
Perfect.
Vince McMahon is going to see that. Well, it's going to impress him more than anything.
That's good shit now.
Yeah. We can swear too. This is such great shit.
Yes.
And I say great because I'm a step ahead.
So we went from that to the one and only, unfortunately, women's match for the evening, Carmella versus Liv Morgan. It's kind of an ongoing theme with this here. Again, to make reference, something that a few weeks back our friend Josh Robinson said, women not getting a fair shake on these shows, man. And once again, kind of the same deal. Yeah, we had the promo, which we're going to get to later on with Bianca and Bayley. But match-wise, all the girls had, they only had a few minutes. And what they did was pretty good, but just it's like, damn, just not much time for the girls to work.
I'm wondering if we just don't have anything for Naomi right now with a lot of being released. Therefore, maybe they're trying to repackage her a little bit. And then with Liv, I think there's always ideas with Liv from the singles aspect. It was just the Ruby Riott stuff was she probably wanted to tag back with Ruby. And to be honest, that was a missed opportunity. We all know that. Yeah. But I mean, also Raw, we saw a lot of women time devoted to the women. The one thing I'm going to say, I don't know who's all available on SmackDown for the taping. So they might not have had access with a lot of the females for tonight's show. So until I hear that there's, all these women complaining about not being on TV, then maybe I'll go that route. But with that being said, I mean, I thought it was at least if you're going to see a females match, it was ones with two that we don't see all the time. And I kind of like the fact that there was just fresh faces in the ring. Yes, it might not be a lot of time, but I mean, in the words of Breeze on the Up, Down, Battle of the Brands, this is a go out and prove yourself match.
Yeah, for sure.
Go out and prove yourself if you should be on SmackDown again next week after. Jericho said this on Austin's podcast. If you have 1 minute, make it 1 minute, and then maybe next week you can get 2, 3, 4. I mean, so we'll see where this leads. If they get more TV time, then, I mean, that's all you can hope, right?
And it looks like we've been raided by Jesse. Jesse here looks like some of Spencer's friends. Welcome, Raiders, to the show.
Is it Juicy or Juicy?
I'm gonna say Juicy. But if they're still in the chat, prove me wrong. And unless I know it's hard to in the chat to say how words are pronounced, but you can let us know if possible. What did you think?
Yeah. Before we go, Goose, you were patiently waiting. We thank you.
What are your thoughts on this the women's match, Goose?
I didn't think it was a bad match or anything, but I don't think it really I feel bad that Ruby Riott got released because this puts Liv Morgan into this brand new position. And tonight she kind of debuted with a new gimmick and stuff, but it doesn't really speak highly to your debut when you go out there and you lose your first match under your new character.
Why do you have to win, Goose?
I feel like she should have, if they're gonna, give her this big opportunity and strap a rocket to her, then they might as well let her, look good in her first outing rather than just look like somebody who her tag partner got released and now she's going to struggle. That's kind of the vibe I got.
I'd like to see what they do next. And that's always going to be my thing. If this becomes a pattern, I will agree with you 100%. But if she comes out next week, has another showing, wins and things like that. Sometimes a new gimmick, you got to make sure that it connects, and you got to before you kind of put that rocket behind someone, because who knows if this new gimmick will let's just stay with the
Oh.
rocket analogy.
I mean,
take off.
There you go.
They gave her a promo and stuff, which was good. I
Yep.
thought
It was well done. Yeah.
yeah. But I just like I say, I would have liked to have seen her win tonight just to put some stock in her so that we can actually, because like I'm legit was like concerned, like, oh, they didn't give her a win, hopefully she doesn't get canned next week, you know.
Yeah.
No, I think she has more promise behind her, to be honest. Like, I know I wasn't on the last show when they talked about the reacts of the cuts, but
Yeah, neither.
I mean, WWE has shown that they don't really care much about tag teams. Therefore, they will kind of either release the entire tag team if that's what they're good really used for. But if there's star potential in either one of them, they will keep that one. And I think they just see more potential in a Liv than a Ruby Riott.
Yeah.
See, and like from my point of view, like when I look at that team, the Riot Squad, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but you know, Liv Morgan was kind of the Marty Jannetty of the team to me, you know. So
It's possibly a fair statement, but
I always thought Ruby was.
Yeah,
maybe that's just a difference of opinion. I just thought there was more growth to Liv.
for sure.
I always just saw that, but
for sure.
I don't know.
So after the match, we did see the Usos approach Pierce and wow, her name escapes me.
Sonya Deville.
Sonya Deville, thank you, Parrish. And begging for a second chance. You know, we got wronged. And then, basically Roman said, okay, you guys need to not lose twice in one night. And we'll see what kind of happens after that. And then we had Bianca Belair come out and gave what I thought was a really damn good promo before Bayley came out. I don't know if you guys feel the same as me on this. Like, I get like the laughing, but like I feel like we're doing too much of it, and like just let Bayley talk instead of just like the constant laughing. Like I said, I get it, but there needs to be a little bit more substance to it. She's actually getting fairly good at speaking as a heel. Let her do it more instead of just the cackling.
I kind of want to see her be a bitch.
For sure, yeah,
a little bit.
I was right onto this. I thought Bayley was fantastic. The way she looks like the girl from the Big Comfy Couch if she just turned into a psychopath. You know, like I thought it was fantastic. I want to see more of this Bayley and like just let her be crazy and maniacal and like let her think she's the greatest thing since sliced bread and act like it and prove it. I would love to see her just.
You know what the best thing since sliced bread was? It was sliced bread number 2. Like, come on.
2.
Yeah.
For sure. So, like I said, it was fairly well done. Just like I said, the laughing bit was getting a little kind of stale with me. Like I said, let Bayley talk a little bit more. She's, like I said, getting better at those heel promos. Let her do it. And then we had the second half of, excuse me, the stuff with the Street Profits. And we basically just said, we had Otis come up and said, hey, Chad's asking to be your manager and you guys are being bitches, and then bitch slap. And then that was really about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly we're setting up a tag team match with the Street Profits and Otis and Gable. Obviously, that's the setup here. It's just it's a weird setup.
Yeah, it was weird how like Otis approached them by himself too, because like I'm kind of led to believe that Otis could just beat the shit out of both of them, and like what does he even need Chad Gable for?
I'm gonna say this. I'd like to see a little bit more pep in the step of the Street Profits. I want to see a little bit more edge. I don't understand why in pro wrestling we can't have some edge with the baby faces. You go back to NXT and you saw the edge that Adam Cole had, and he was getting cheered in that promo, which was a fantastic promo. And it was like, Austin had the edge. Look what it does to him. Rock has this edge. Look what it does to him. Jericho had it. Look what it like. Baby faces can be a little bit of a dick too. I just think if you're a dick for the right reasons, people are going to be like, yeah, it's like you can be a bully to the bullies, and then negates that whole bully thing out, and people still like, well, but back you up. Like, I think we just need a little bit of that.
For sure.
So I'd like to see a little bit more push, like aggressive push out of the Profits, but for the right reason. And I think that's all they need.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being dicks, possibly a bad segue, but we had Baron Corbin versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Baron Corbin, great at being that dick. I think a lot of people hated on him, and guess what, folks? That's how you're actually supposed to feel about a bad guy. I will say though that this deal with Corbin Nakamura is getting a little old, fighting over this crown. Like it's got to lead somewhere. Like start setting up for like a King of the Ring if that's what you're going for. Like let's go somewhere with this because it is getting a little stale. But like I said, I'm a fan of both the guys. Just the what they got going on just feels a little kind of stale. One thing I will say too that really kind of stood out to me wasn't like even the match. It was like the commentary on this one. Like McAfee was like up on like the announce table, like just losing his shit, and then Cole's just like no selling what's going on. Like it's just like you could tell like Cole is like not digging like what Pat's doing on commentary. He's like,
I also love how
like
uncomfortable it made Michael Cole.
Yeah,
and
you can tell like Cole's just like we got to put a muzzle on this kid. Like,
and I think the Goose might have to go number 2.
The Goose just vacated the premises.
Yeah, the Goose has some droppings that he has to go give someone.
He may have not been a fan of this match either. But like I said, it's one of these things. Like I voiced this before too, and I know our friend Ed here is also seems to be a New Japan fan. Like the more that I see of Shinsuke Nakamura in WWE, it's just like it's painful to watch because like the dude is like so capable. Like he's a former IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Like the guy is like top of the card material, and he's like limited to doing this kind of stuff.
Okay,
that could be really good, but just he can do so much more.
I will say this because I do agree that Shinsuke can be used more in that main event scene.
Yeah.
However, I will go with the 3 points here. One, his accent and being Japanese is still going to kind of work against him in promos, especially for a babyface thing here in the States. And we all know that
you have a guy to talk free for that.
Yeah, no, but like we all know like how big that is in WWE. And as much as that is. Plus, Shinsuke Nakamura knows that he can't perform those 5-star quality matches that he does in New Japan every single night, like 5 days a week on a schedule in WWE. You have to tone it back a little bit if you want to be consistent as a performer. Also, he wants to work more of that style too. He has said it publicly that he enjoys the entertainment aspect of the WWE as well. And that was one reason why he wanted to go there as well. So we can't necessarily fault creative all the way. I get what people are saying because they want to see more. We always want to see more out of the guys, especially when we see glimpses of that somewhere else. And we're like, oh, we want that in WWE, right? Like it'd be so much great if we got like the Shinsuke and AJ match in WWE. And then that's why I think that's why I think that WrestleMania match was a letdown because of what we compared it from. But at the same time, if that match wasn't something we were comparing it to, I don't think we're going to see the backlash from their Mania match like we did. So we also have to think about it on the other side of the coin. But I mean, if to me, Shinsuke is becoming more of a prominent player on the roster now than he was even when he won the Rumble. Like I even thought like when he won the Rumble, I'm like, okay, what are they going to do with him at this level? Like, it just seems a little bit strange. Like, it doesn't feel like it's really going to stay. And then now I feel like, you know what? Like, I feel like he is in a role, like an important role. And I can actually see him be like a next challenger to a Roman Reigns down the line. Like, I really do. So I think because of that, all of a sudden now he's more prominent in a main time position on SmackDown. And when you have that on like your regular TV show, I think that's a great sign that the company's back behind you and that you're doing some really great work. So, I mean, it's just a different form of his work that, people are getting used to.
So here's this could almost be a segment of every show that I'm on. Here's the Mighty Joe hot take segment for the evening here. When the announces, I can't even talk. I'm kind of flabbergasted here. When they had the announcements of the releases, like I said, hot take, like I was almost seriously kind of hoping that Shinsuke was going to be on that list so he could go back to New Japan. Like I said, hot take. Some people might not like that take, but honestly,
do you think he wants to move back though? I don't think he wants to move back.
But like, it's not Shinsuke. Like this is like a completely different character, and the style just like it's borderline like mid card comedy shtick at this point. And it's so different from what he's capable of doing and what he has done.
Kind of reminds you of like Tajiri in ECW versus Tajiri in WWE, who's just kind of like palling around with William Regal type thing,
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where we have to come to understand that when guys leave where they are to come to WWE, like we just have to come to expect that they're not going to be that same performer. There's going to be extensions to that performer, and WWE is always going to want you to become something else as well. Like I don't think. Plus, I don't know if Shinsuke Nakamura in New Japan can resonate with the WWE fan base the way it did in the New Japan fan base. I don't know if that's an actual thing. It's hard to tell because it never got a shake.
Yeah.
But with that being said, just because it never got a shake doesn't mean it's a guarantee either. So we kind of have to take things in spades, I guess. But with that being said, like I don't dislike the Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, with that being said, I still liked his presentation better in NXT than I did on Raw or SmackDown. Yeah. But with that being said, I do think if he was, again, if he was to go into a program with Roman Reigns, I do believe there's going to be less comedy and more seriousness. And I think it really goes to where and who you're working to at the same point. With Baron Corbin, I think there's too much comedy with Baron Corbin as well. Yeah. And I think there's too much ribs on Baron Corbin enough because I believe like that guy can punch you in the face and you'd be like, what are you going to do? And you're like, oh, like I can't do anything. Like I think that's like I think he's more capable of kicking my ass than a lot of guys on the roster that are in those positions. Again, it's believability, right? Like I don't know. Like
at the same time too, I mean, it's no secret like that Japanese wrestlers don't fare well, especially on Raw and SmackDown. They just don't. No. Right. So, and it's whether the writers or the bookers don't know how to book these Japanese wrestlers, or they just don't get it in the Western. And it also doesn't help as well that a lot of the Western wrestling fans, especially the ones, the WWE fans who are truly in that WWE bubble and don't watch anything else, they see some of these Japanese wrestlers and it just doesn't resonate with them whatsoever because it's just not their, to use the Austin Powers line, it's just not their bag. It's just not. Right. So
it's actually a funny thing we bring this up because it's something that even when there's crowds in WWE shows, I mean, you can see the diversity of people and like diversity now, whether it's in the States or in Canada, I think we can all agree that it's absolutely insane now how diverse the world just is. But even when I'm looking at the crowd in WWE, I don't see a lot of Asians in the crowd. And for that reason, I just wonder, like, do the Asian performers have a harder time connecting because there's not enough people that they like who understand
the big difference
them?
The big difference, like when you go, like now, especially, like if you go and you watch some New Japan or you watch some Stardom, the presentation is different. Like literally every level, right? The audience is completely different. They're watching what is being presented to them as a legitimate sporting event, and they view it as such. Like they're there, they're clapping, they're not hooting and hollering and trying to take over the show or anything like that. And largely, for the most part as well, the storytelling is done inside the ring, not with a bunch of these segments and vignettes and whatnot. They tell their stories inside of that ring. So it's a completely different presentation as well. So when that is attempted to be brought over to the North American audience, sometimes it falls flat. Like I said, especially with those who only watch WWE and nothing else, it doesn't resonate with them whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's why I think WWE does get a fair, unfair shake when they say put the WWE title on a Jinder Mahal, because they want to capitalize on the market with that, of that culture. Because if WWE did more Japan shows, I would see maybe more of a commitment to a Shinsuke Nakamura. So, and I don't know, and to me, and it's funny because we see Asuka, and I think Asuka in the last, I would say maybe decade, probably even since the Tajiri, because that's a really good example, Goose. But Asuka, I think, has done the best job of connecting to the North American crowd when it comes to the Japanese performers. And I don't know, because just from interviews, I see and hear a lot of WWE performers talk about Shinsuke, talk about what he brings, and they get it. So I don't know if it's so much a disconnect with the writers. I think it's maybe a disconnect to the WWE fan base or universe, because I do believe that it's there. And because of that, they're maybe forced to do something else. And because of that, they may not believe in that something else as much as they do believe that anything else. And we all know that if you don't believe in it, it's hard for other people to, right? So,
and a lot of fans too that have jumped ship over to New Japan and whatnot, they haven't come back to WWE at all. They've just kind of exclusively stayed over there because they've been so turned off of the WWE product, especially not to poke fun at them with 3 hours of Raw every single week. You want to claw out your eyeballs sometimes, right? So, but yeah, it's the type of thing. Dude, I hope Shin gets at least some main event title shots, because he's more than capable of it. They got to give him something to kind of go with, and I really think that he can do it if they just give the dude the chance. Give Shinsuke a chance. That's all I say.
If you go back and you look at all the Asian performers in WWE history, Shinsuke Nakamura is probably the most credible guy who you're okay, this is, of all the Asian performers, he's come the closest to being the WWE champion, he's a lot closer to winning the belt than say a Taka Michinoku ever was, or Tajiri. If Shinsuke Nakamura had won the WWE championship, it would have been totally awesome.
I think he would have been the first Japanese-born WWE champion.
Yeah, and nobody would have been oh, not this Japanese guy. Everybody would have been awesome. There's a great wrestler. He's the world champion right now. Sweet,
Yeah, I think he's broken a lot of molds, like you said, Goose. And I think that's the main thing to take away. I agree with you there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Grove escapes hitting on something here, and Parrish had hinted at it too, that his presentation in NXT was fantastic. One of my favorite matches, actually of this past decade, was his debut match in NXT with Sami Zayn. That was they hit lightning in a bottle. The match had a special feel to it. It had a good build, had a good setup, and I was just shocked that he wasn't given the opportunity to do more of that over on Raw or SmackDown. Because it's you can do it. It's right there in front of you. You just got to give the guy enough to work with. What
I loved about that match, and it's actually more to what I love about that show, is just the aura that was going around. We saw. This is my issue with Raw.
Big match feel.
It goes more to that. This is my problem with Raw and SmackDown. There's too much lights. There's too much production. There's nothing raw about Monday Night Raw. There's nothing stingy. I'm not saying go to the Raw Underground, but interpret that aura with what you have. Yeah, because I understand. This is why I believe that the pay-per-views don't feel as special anymore, because Raw is just as produced, if not in that same way, with these pay-per-views. And that's why you don't have And you took away the custom sets with all these pay-per-views, which everybody dug, by the way.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to remember Backlash when they had the swords going like this and they had all the themed ones? Those were made it good. Go back to like WCW versus NWO World Tour, and they had like the beach for Bash at the Beach, Halloween Havoc, that graveyard,
in your house,
things like the giant house that's now a Pizza Hut apparently. But like, if I think this is a little thing that WWE can do that will make such a big move, and because of that, if you allow these creative stories just to be a little bit more simpler based and start small and then build on them and then just have good matches and give them time instead of like, here's 2 minutes, here's 3 minutes, try to do more than what you should. And I think we're living in that time frame where we got to do more than what we should, and we don't understand the little things as much as we like to claim we do. I think we're going to have a better product. I think that's how WWE gets more mainstream than what what people think they are or how they feel they are.
For sure. Before we get to these next matches, though, I think that I'm going to pull it up here, and we need to make sure we hit on this with this too, because I mean we've had this campaign going actually on Between Two Beards just yesterday. I mean, we made like $150 in donations just on that stream alone. So just wanted to make sure that people are aware of what we're doing with the Trevor project here. You're good at promoting these, Parrish. You take this one.
I also want to make a challenge because here's the thing. I don't like losing, and I don't like losing to Americans. Yeah, I'm going to say this. Call me the hockey guy, call me whatever, but I hate losing to the United States of America, even though it is completely okay. The guys at the Between Two Beers did a great job, and I like them. They're brothers. That's fine. But
CFL.
I hear they have a really good producer, too. I heard something about that.
Even though I'm an NFL guy. But with that being said, Sunday brunch. Let's try to tune in and let's smash the goal that the Between Two Beards had for this. Give it some time. I know today was Friday. It might be payday for some people. There's no rush. There's no pressure. But let's try to set a record on Sunday brunch. If we want to close out a weekend with Sunday brunch, we talk some wrestling, we have some fun, we eat some eggs that hopefully come on time, but then let's try to donate. And where you can donate is donate.tiltify.com/@lovewrestlingca/Trevor Project. I can still nail it. I'm good at this stuff. And guess what? Our goal is 1,000, but that doesn't mean we stop at 1,000.
No,
that's just a goal.
Yeah.
Because we all know it takes more than one goal to win games. And as an Oilers fan, it's damn true. It's damn true.
I did a hockey reference too. Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. You look like you've done this before. So yeah, actually,
times.
And I'll even.
Which, by the way, somebody was talking about the Avs Golden Knights game. What is the score? Because my boy Nick Holden, who's my old D partner, he's on the Golden Knights. I want to see if they're actually in the series or not. So somebody let me know what the score is. They won. Yes.
Hey, there you go.
Oh,
cool. All right, well, let's go ahead.
Pete made me excited, and I even have pants on. So, yes, what do we have next? Because that was a...
What's the occasion? You're wearing pants tonight?
Actually, that's not true. I got shorts, but still.
Awesome.
They're even rock shorts. They're rock Under Armour shorts.
Sweet.
CFL.
Iron Paradise.
Damn, we're too Canadian. Jesus Christ. So
we have bigger balls. Yeah.
We'll move on to our next match, but we'll keep up we'll move on to talk about the next match, but we'll leave the link up so that you guys can hit that up while we're talking. Go crazy with it. So next up, we had Apollo Crews versus Kevin Owens for the Intercontinental Championship. But before the match started, of course, we had to have the backstage segment of Commander or Lieutenant or Sergeant or whatever he is, Aziz there. Comes
Commander.
Just lays kicks the shit out of Kevin Owens. And then, a little bit of time passes and then Kevin comes out. And then we had a pretty damn good, decent match. But still, guys, as good as that match kind of was, not my favorite part of this match. My favorite part of this is probably still the most entertaining guy on this roster. Sami Zayn comes out and just it's the storyline. Just these guys could go for forever, honestly, and I'm entertained by every single moment of it. Comes out and just continuing to screw and mess with Kevin Owens. Dude, it's fantastic. Sammy's the best character on SmackDown, hands down, in my opinion. Come at me,
Goose. I'm gonna let you do this first because I since I'm taking the host, I'm really doing a Spencer and I'm talking a lot. So go ahead, Goose.
I am a huge fan of Sami Zayn. I still
fantastic,
think that
fantastic.
Roman Reigns is probably eking it out for me right now, but I like Sammy's because he's got he's a little more comedic with the things he's doing, but he's also like he's nuts, and I like that about him. Like, you know, he's like a karma kicked you in the face and yada yada yada. So like I want to see him and Kevin Owens wrestle because I've never seen them wrestle each other and have a bad match. So let's just more of this, please. Yes.
That was my hook. I was hoping. Sorry.
And it looks like Groves also agrees with that. Sammy is awesome, and he would be correct.
Hey, Joe, do you want to know how much Edmonton loves Sami Zayn?
How much, Parrish?
I'm not Spencer.
I almost called you Spencer. I don't know. I don't know if I can feel more rap from you or Spencer.
The difference between Spencer and I is it's this.
Oh shit! That's it. I'm fired.
That'll be the comment.
Turn myself off. Here, okay. Here, you guys.
But the after. No. Put yourself back in. You got to hear this. Yeah.
There we go. I demoted myself.
After every Edmonton Oilers win, and lately in the regular season, there has been a lot more. They play at home a theme song. And what theme song is that, you might ask? It's Sami Zayn's theme song, brother.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That is how much the city of Edmonton respects Sami Zayn. And this was before the dance moves shook the world like Thriller back in the day. I mean, just respect. This is identifying true talent right
and
there.
Even just outside of like the wrestling and the character too. One thing that I really love about Sammy is he sticks by like his guns, like even stuff like he believes in, like, you know, the somewhat controversial stand on not, you know, doing the Saudi Arabia stuff like that. Got to give the guy props for just he sticks to his guns and you know, if you don't like it, so be it. But I mean, it's like the wrestler and the character, like even. I've even gone far as saying silly things like I almost wish that he would do a little bit of run as El Generico in WWE. That would be stuff with him and Kevin Owens, like him and El Generico.
Imagine if that was a surprise Rumble entrant.
That'd be awesome.
How much of a pop would that get?
That'd be awesome, dude. Like seriously.
Like that would be man, just think about like just the randomness of something. And I badly now want to see just a face-off between El Generico in WWE with Doink the Clown for any reason, because I think it's funny. But if some guys were allowed to kind of bring their outside persona into WWE for like a one-off, holy, would that just shake the internet?
Yeah.
All the Karens on the internet would actually have something nice to say for once, and it'd be very refreshing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, that's sarcasm. I'm making fun of the people on the internet. Come at me on that one.
No. And not since grade 9 in high school have I been summoned to the office. So sounds like after the show I might have to talk to the boss.
I once got sent to the office because they asked me if I wanted to do something at like specific at like a recital that we were having in front of the school. And I was like so dumbfounded. And I'm like, I'm not in trouble. Because I literally clogged a toilet like less than an hour before that, and I thought I was getting in trouble for that.
Nice, for clogging the toilet.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's what I said on live air, by the way.
Awesome. All right, so
I'm doing this like not alone in this virtual office, so yeah.
Awesome.
Now there'll be a room for 2. Get it? I tied it in.
Number 2. Oh boy! All right, so to end off the night for SmackDown here, of course we had the Mysterios the Usos getting a second chance at the Mysterios. I almost did that backwards.
It's number 2.
And we had kind of like basically like a mirror of the match that we had. And then, as it looks like the Usos are kind of getting their asses kind of handed to them, Roman comes out and just destroys Dominic and Ray. Just destroys the two guys. It's like annihilation.
Yeah. And it was funny because the one thing that made me pop a lot during the initial match where the Mysterios won the tag titles was the line from Dolph Ziggler, be like, "Oh no, it'll be child abuse."
Yeah,
that made me laugh. And then Roman just takes it to a completely different level and beats the living piss out of Dominic Mysterio. And I'm not gonna lie, it was awesome.
Yeah,
Goose, I'm gonna throw it to you.
I like this match segment. I've already put over Roman Reigns a bunch. I think that what he's doing right now is fantastic. I do think that it did kind of like. My question is, why doesn't Roman just go for the tag championships? Like, he doesn't even seem to need a partner to take these guys out. Like,
just might do that.
Just beat the trash out of like Ray and Dominic on his own.
You know what? That's not a terrible idea. And what I like too is that I can tell that there's some other people involved with kind of setting this up here, because I think if. And not to do the traditional hating on Vince thing, but I think if Vince was really kind of controlling this, like he would have also had him take out the Usos at the same time. I like that they've held off, and because you could tell that eventually it might go in that direction. But they didn't give it away all at once. They left it kind of like a bit of a cliffhanger at the end too, which is clever.
They don't be giving much away, because like I still don't know who Roman Reigns is going to wrestle at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. I don't think he will.
He might,
and I don't think he has to. But I had an idea, and this could actually answer this. What happens if there's a triple threat tag team title match between the Mysterios, the Usos versus Roman Reigns?
Roman Reigns get on board for that. I could get on board.
Roman Reigns wins this match, and looks right at both Usos, and he's like, "Look, this is what I can do.
Yep.
And if you're with me, you can have these." And he's like, "I don't even need these. I just did this because I can do this by myself. You guys couldn't even do this by yourselves."
It'd be right on brand.
And then how ironic would it be if he's like, "You want these? Have them, because I don't need them. Look, they're yours. And guess what? You wouldn't have these if it wasn't for me. So acknowledge me."
That's right on brand, dude. That would make perfect sense.
Exactly.
Yep.
Again, Vince, I'm booking your stuff for you.
What if they brought in Brock Lesnar to be Roman Reigns' tag partner?
I'm not sure about that. About partners. I think it's got to be coming back for them to go head to head. Partnership. I don't see it.
You know what? I wouldn't be mad if they did something with Brock and Roman. See, if you want the evolution of a heel Roman to go, you got to keep Brock away from this as much as possible until it's starting to fizz out or get old or get like, oh no, not this again. Like when it starts getting to the Drew McIntyre level. And I say this because Drew McIntyre is no longer, in my opinion, the top baby face of Raw. And if he is, there's a big issue with Raw because he is forced down your throat and he's no longer that organic story anymore because he's always there. If anything, Kofi's kind of becoming that guy now. But then also Riddle and Orton are right there too.
What I could see for Brock, I could eventually see, him do come back to WWE, and I think Roman Reigns will be the target. But in the meantime, just knowing that Brock occasionally, he always has the WWE to fall back onto. It's one of Vince's favorite guys. But Brock also likes to dabble in other things, whether it be MMA, whether it be wrestling over in Japan. I think that Brock does go for a bit of a stint over New Japan. Now that there's some restrictions are getting lifted, I think Brock goes over New Japan and then does eventually make a comeback to WWE. And like I said, Roman's going to be the target.
With this rumor going around
Because it's going to be like, dude, it's like I'm the Paul Heyman guy, not you. You're a punk ass bitch, and I'm gonna take you out.
With this rumor about the New Japan WWE thing, and
I don't think it's going to happen.
No. But if there was a working relationship, there's a lot of pieces with WWE New Japan that work so well already. Whether it's AJ, Nakamura, Lesnar, all former champions, right?
On the flip side of that, too, though, it actually to make a bit of a reference, because my other show, I can make sure I point it out properly, Turnbuckle Talk is also on the Love Wrestling feed. Now, we had our friend Michael Jargo, who's an expert on New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he said that he doesn't want to see any of the New Japan guys come over to the WWE, because the guys we mentioned, a lot of those guys just won't translate well to the WWE fans. Whereas the other way around, some of them could do over.
Exactly. That's where I was going to go.
But if it's not going to be a good two-way relationship, it can't work.
Oh, you mean like TNA and AEW?
No, I'm talking with New Japan and WWE.
No, but I was just using the example of if it's not a two-way street.
If only one side is benefiting, then it doesn't make sense to partner together, because only one side benefits, and then eventually it'll just fizzle out, because it'll be like, screw you guys, like you're getting all the attention now when it should be on us.
But like, there's part of me that would love to see Tama Tonga in WWE. I think that'd be very fresh.
But the only thing is with that, I mean, like, as great as that, they set that kind of groundwork for a thing with him and Roman. But you would just know that, especially if it were to take place over in the WWE side of things, it's just going to be Roman squashing Tama Tonga. There's no other result.
But does it have to be Roman? Does it have to be Roman? And does it have to be Raw or SmackDown? Could it not be NXT?
Could be, but I mean, that's not the story that they've been trying to tell, though.
No, but I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, and that, to me, that'd be an interesting concept, because you got the Tama Tonga, you got the Bullet Club, then you got the Finn Balor, then you have the AJ Styles, and like everything, there's continuity there. There are stories, but this is also like an example of how wrestling fans can make completely anything out of it.
That's assuming that the McMahons even own WWE by that point, all right? So that's assuming that that's still the case.
Yeah, is there not rumors going around that NBC is buying WWE for $2 to $4 billion? Because I heard that.
Rumors. Like when a company makes moves like the WWE did, on the reacts that we did with Carl. Carl brought up a really good thing. He brought up a list of like what a company does when they're getting ready to sell. And he went through that list, and that's all stuff that WWE is doing right now. They're looking to sell the company. NBC is a possibility. I think it's a little bit bigger. I think it's either Disney or Amazon.
Well, they're looking to sell. Carl did say Disney and had a big pitch on Disney, and that makes a lot of sense.
And the Amazon does too, because then you'd have the built-in ability for merchandise and all that kind of stuff, and you get tied into Prime and all that, right? It makes perfect sense there as well. But yeah, man, just that there's so many like things up in the air. So it's hard to even kind of predict things, because we don't know what the landscape might be in even like 6 months. It could be completely different.
I still blame Battle of the Beards for spending our budget so much every week to where Spencer Love cannot go in and try to buy the WWE. Therefore, it's not only hurting my bookings, but it's also hurting Goose's bookings, which is just not fair. Because, I mean, like, we could have all these bookings, Goose, but the Battle of the Beards budget is just killing us.
I want to get booked on Raw.
Yeah, for sure. You can go and have a match with Nia Jax. Good luck. Don't do that. If they offer that to you, don't take it, because she'll hurt you.
No, she wouldn't hurt me.
Yeah, there's no titles there anymore. So, I mean, come on. What's the end game? But yeah. So the one thing I again want to say in this the final match with the Usos and the Mysterios with the beatdown of Roman Reigns on both, I knew nobody was going to go save the Mysterios, and to me that was a little alarming, and it was also a little refreshing at the same time, because I didn't expect. What up, EPW show? How are you?
Good evening.
But it was like, okay, this is a glaring glaring example that there's nobody in line for Roman right now. It's
Not
clear that we're just evolving the Uso storyline where we had one Uso walk away and he's like, come on, Us. He's about to walk. Roman gets right in his face and be like, where do you think you're going? So that was awesome. But at the same time, does anybody not expect to see Dominic and Rey in a handicap match against Roman next week? Does that not make the most sense right now?
For sure.
And that's how you build a handicap match, to be honest.
Yeah. And I like Roman. That you had for the match where Roman basically wins those titles and then just be like, hey, you guys couldn't do it twice in one night. You messed up. You didn't do it. I went and did it by myself. And he just like throws the titles up here. I don't even need these anymore. You guys can have them.
Like if he even says they're beneath me.
Yeah. Perfect.
But they're good enough for you. Like that would be the best line on that whole show.
Yeah.
I think it's very telling though that we are going into Hell in the Cell, like the most dangerous match stipulation in all WWE history. And we're like 3 weeks away, if that. And we don't know who Roman Reigns is supposed to be having a Hell in the Cell match.
Yeah.
Does he even have to be in a Hell in a Cell match, though?
No,
I don't know.
I wouldn't put him in one because why would he? He hasn't been feuding with anyone long enough.
No.
Like
that brings up the bigger issue too with these gimmick type things is that they always seem to they happen too much like clockwork. I've stated before that when it comes to the Hell in the Cell and this kind of stuff, like you need to. It needs to feel a bit more organic because it's like, well, it's this time of the year, so we gotta do the Elimination Chamber. Oh, well, it's coming up to late summer. We gotta do Hell in the Cell just to get and there's not that proper motivation in that build to justify the over the top gimmick, right? There isn't. It's the same thing with the demon thing with Finn Balor, right? It used to be in NXT that whoever he was feuding with. It got to the point to where, he got so pissed off that it drew the demon out of him. And then they started going towards, well, it's just pay-per-view time, so Finn Balor's got to be the demon. It completely changed that thing, right?
I think it's dependent upon the gimmick because I think that having the Royal Rumble at the same time of year every year is
that's
fine.
Different.
It works
that's
great.
Different, yeah.
But like Hell in the Cell is like a specific match stipulation that should only be called upon when it's actually called
justified,
upon,
right?
And not like
that's what I mean. Yeah.
There's no reason why Hell in the Cell needs to be in June every year. Which that's another thing. It's not in June every year. Sometimes it's in like October. Sometimes it's in September. It's they just switching it around willy nilly and making now it's time arbitrarily for Hell in the Cell. It's like, why don't we just see two guys get into such a personal rivalry anymore that it calls for like when Triple H and Cactus Jack had their Hell in the Cell match, it wasn't because it was fucking June. Excuse my language,
Jesus. Now you don't even deserve the bookings with language like that.
Remember, we can only give so many Fs, so remember.
Remember, you can't get on Raw or SmackDown if they're PG. You guys told that.
It just frustrates me so much.
This is the angriest goose I've ever seen.
Hell in the Cell is like one of my favorite stipulations, and I remember like seeing that angle with Triple H and Cactus Jack and thinking that this Hell in the Cell thing is going to be like the most dangerous, vile, like craziest match I've ever seen, and I can't miss it.
I can't believe I'm the most behaved one here.
It wasn't because of the time of year it was. You know what I mean?
What in the blue heck is going on when I'm the most behaved out of the three? I've literally had beers on this thing, and I'm the most behaved. How dare you?
The Goose will be joining me.
Actually, but then again, I have no idea what's in that Sunday brunch mug where you can find I Love Wrestling CA.
Yeah.
Or .ca/shop, by the way.
I believe Goose will be joining me in Spencer's office after the show is complete.
How I'm getting the pass is beyond me.
Right?
I'm usually in timeout every week.
You've been very well behaved, Parrish.
My apologies. It wasn't my intention to offend you.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
No,
slips out,
It's just a great narrative. But there are two matches I can... there are two matches I do see a Hell in a Cell being a little fitting and one is Charlotte and Rhea. I do believe that is Hell in a Cell worthy of a thing, just based on you could do that and get away with it. Another one is Kevin Owens and Apollo, because it's a guaranteed way to keep Aziz out. And I do think that's a story.
That would make sense as well.
And we can actually help propel the Intercontinental title a little bit more if we put those two guys in Hell in a Cell. Yeah. Even start the pay-per-view off with them in Hell in a Cell. I think that's a refreshing way of doing Hell in a Cell.
The one thing that they need to do with the Hell in a Cell, or should I say, stop doing, is stop referring to the Hell in a Cell, because they always word it this way. Oh, well, these two guys are going to be in the structure where we have the structure to keep those guys in there so they can't get out. But like literally every time they do a Hell in a Cell match, they get out, or they start the match outside of the Hell in a Cell. It's like, stop pitching it as that when we know goddamn well that they're going to get
it. It's disappointing. Like, there's been a couple of Hell in a
Taking the Lord's name in vain now, Joe. Come on.
Like, this is what I paid my money for? No, I want to see somebody fly off the cage and or at least
stop pitching as that they can't get out, because we know they can get out. They just
I am putting Kevin Owens in the match, so you got a guy who's willing to go off the cage.
Oh, Goose is going to go poop again.
Wow. How much fiber did he eat today?
Did we recently become sponsored by Taco Bell, and was I not informed?
Man, I haven't had Taco Bell in a while. That's how many chalupas did he have today?
Right. Or maybe he got summoned to the office sooner than expected.
Yeah. You went you went honk and honk, and Spenny's like, come in, right here.
The stress is getting
in my virtual office because you're virtually in trouble.
It says. Well, before Goose does come back, because we'll give him a chance to get his plugs in before we go. But before that, I'm going to call you one more time, Paris, before we go, to talk about the Trevor Project. For those who maybe are just tuning in now or watching this post, just seeing this now, let us know again what's going on here, and just go. Yeah,
so so I'm learning on the fly about this whole thing. I believe the Trevor Project is people who are, going through mental stress, whether it's suicide, of the LGBTB society.
Bingo.
I'm learning so much about just this whole thing, and thankfully we have somebody like Josh around who can help educate us all about it. Also, we have great friends like Kayla J, great friend of mine. Also, just learning a lot about this stuff, but there are so many things that are real. Mental stress being one of them. We have not had the easiest of times lately. I think we all know that. This has been a hard year and a half, and it's been a very stressful one, whether it's internal stress or external. But the Trevor Project is here to help people who are dealing with these issues. And if you go to donate@tiltify.com @lovewrestlingca/Trevor Project, you can do your part, just like we're trying to do our part here at Love Wrestling, to help people who are dealing with that and get the help that they really need right now to get through it. Because an underdog is not an underdog if he doesn't pull through. A great story needs a happy ending, and we can actually provide that happy ending here to these people. Goose, get your mind out of the gutter, because I know exactly where it was, because that's where my mind usually goes. But with that being said, I saw the smile. But at the same time, like, we just have an opportunity here to do some good in the world, and we all know this world needs more good. So please go again at donate.tiltify.com /@lovewrestlingca/Trevor Project. Yeah, my eyes didn't even leave the screen. I'm looking straight into my webcam. And do your part. But I am going to throw the challenge to everyone to join in Sunday brunch. And let's set a record for donations. Let's try to do something. Simply because I want to be a part of the winning night. And I can't let the guys that wrecked the swear jar, even though you guys are making it very challenging for me tonight, I want to try to be on the winning one. And it's a healthy competition because this isn't an ego thing. This is just let's try to come together and help out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Parrish. And before we go, let us give our friend the Canadian Goose a chance to get his plugs in final thoughts and words.
My t-shirts are available at the link displayed on the bottom of the screen there. If you also just go to Pro Wrestling Tees and search for Goose, the results from my shirts will come up quick because I'm the only wrestler in the world named Goose. It really does help me out. I appreciate every sale, and you will look good sporting a Canadian Goose t-shirt. I also have Canadian Goose COVID-19 masks available now, so you can PM me about those if you'd like one. They're $15 Canadian plus shipping if you need it shipped out. If you live here in Edmonton, we can just arrange for you to come meet me somewhere and we'll pick it up or whatnot. Monday Night Shaw this week is going to feature Thaddeus Archer III, prominent wrestling personality here in Edmonton. Good friend of mine, and so yeah, it's going to be a part one of a 2-part interview because me and Thaddeus talked for like 3 hours. It was 3 hours, which is bordering on the time it's taking me to finish these plugs. So I will wrap it up here, and
we're gonna have a recap on your plugs soon. A recap show for the plugs.
Awesome.
All good. For myself, of course, like I mentioned earlier, on our Love Wrestling on our podcast feed, you can catch my other show, Turnbuckle Talk, on there as well. And coming up this week on Turnbuckle Rewind, we have a very interesting one here for you guys. We're going back to WrestleMania 12 for the Hollywood Backlot Brawl. Goldust versus Canada's own Rowdy Roddy Piper. One of my favorite quote-unquote matches of all time, even though they did a lot of stuff that wasn't even in the ring. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. Looking forward to sitting down with my brother Carl to talk about that one and for you guys to watch along and listen to that show. So you guys are in for a treat with that one.
Yeah, and now I can actually plug myself, which is also a weird way of saying that.
Oh, boy. Go ahead, Parrish.
That's a clip. You can always check me out on Twitter at Chris Parrish, on Instagram at Chris.Parrish, because that dot is important, damn it, and I couldn't get anything else. But you can also follow me on lovewrestling.ca, where you can follow everyone here and get so many great content. And then you can go to lovewrestling.ca/shop to get a lot of great stuff. If you don't know what we have, you look down on Mighty Joe and you're like, you know what? That is a handsome chest. But what's even more handsome is that t-shirt that he has that's made with some of the most beautiful of cotton. And then you can have that Love Wrestling logo right there. And you can look like the stud muffin we all know that you can be. And if you're a female, that's all right. Because look, if you want to cover those nice, and you don't want people to stare at them, you could be like, hey, look, Love Wrestling, stare at this, because it is a great content of pro wrestling supplying where you can help spread the word, because we are people helping people. And that's what matters here at Love Wrestling, whether it's at donate.tiltify./ all that good stuff, because we do so much donation. And then whether it's Love Wrestling, we're all helping people, and that's all we have. And guess what? That's, I think, all the time we have. And we want to also thank you, our friend Paulo Del Mar, following us tonight's stream with the raid.
CFL.
Somebody please clip that.
Right.
Because I really badly want to Photoshop that into something embarrassing.
For sure.
Or we can get Zach too, because he is better at it. So I think with that being said, it is time for us to wish you bye-bye. And